I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Autumn is upon us, and to honor the season of change and the arts, the Guild of Artists and Artisans hosts an annual fair with Artoberfest flair.
We're here at 82 Artoberfest. This is our 4th annual fine art fair here in downtown Ann Arbor.
There are 80 or so artists here, all different kinds, photographers, you've got ceramics folks, textiles, that kind of thing.
Ann Arbor is an artsy town, so people come out, and even if they don't buy anything, they look, they learn about the artwork, and they support us with compliments and curiosity.
We've got our neighborhood partners who come out for this event, including the Hands-On Museum, and they've got a tent out and they're doing magnet painting, which is really cool, a combination of science and the arts. We've got the mask making in the Gutman Gallery for kids as well. You can grab a drink at our beer tent, that's kind of the Oktoberfest about it, and then walk around our entire fair and shop the artwork.
I'm so excited and honored. This is my first time at the Artoberfest. It's an honor to be here and an honor to receive an award for hard work and dedication to sustainability. I make a variety of jewelry and wearables. I do a lot of recycled metals within my work and mixed metals, copper, brass, sterling silver, and a variety of stones and other materials.
Even if you go to the same place out in nature, you could look in a different direction and see something completely different. The weather could change and it could be completely different. So every time I go out, it feels like, even if I've been to the same spot, it's a brand new experience every time. And I try and make that come through in my photography.
I think they should check out Artoberfest to have their mind expand visually and also in learning about artists and the different way they think and why they do the mediums they're doing.
A lot of great art lovers down here. Yeah, just a lot of people looking to share their gift with other people and make a connection.
The 2025 Artoberfest will be in downtown Ann Arbor October 11th and 12th. For more, visit theguild.org. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. Ann Arbor is showing strong signs of becoming the Silicon Valley of the Midwest as tech startups and innovation increasingly take root in our corner of Michigan. Among the leaders driving the momentum is Applied Intuition, a cutting-edge company developing tools to make vehicles across all sectors safer and smarter. As they shape the future of mobility, they're also on the lookout for top talent to join their mission.
We are at the ribbon cutting for the new facility for Applied Intuition, one of our great engineering firms that's doing really cutting-edge work for the auto sector and increasingly for the defense sector.
Applied Intuition is a company that makes vehicle intelligence. What that really means is the AI and the software that would be used to make cars, trucks, construction equipment, mining equipment, tanks, fighter jets, all more intelligent. Intelligence typically can mean just how they interact with the environment, but it specifically means autonomous. So the company started a little under 9 years ago in Mountain View, California, and we built tools and operating systems and autonomy that we then work with manufacturers to deploy onto cars and trucks.
You're really leading and showing the world what Michigan is capable of.
The head of Applied Intuition is a Michigander. He literally grew up in Macomb County, went to Kettering, worked in the auto industry, went off into the world and started this amazing company and brought it home to Michigan. And I think that to me is like a story we can all be proud of.
Lots of reasons for us to be in Michigan, from a personal story all the way to the recruiting, but yeah, we're only looking forward to expanding our presence here over the coming years.
Applied Intuition is recruiting talent in our area. Visit appliedintuition.com to learn more about the corporation and open positions right here in Ann Arbor. The city is always transforming new construction, safety initiatives, and programs. There's a home base to find out about all the projects happening right around A2. Learn more about Engage Ann Arbor in this month's City Roundup.
Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Isaac, and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist at the City of Ann Arbor. Are you looking to stay connected with your city? Check out Engage A2, your one-stop shop for all city projects. On Engage A2, you can explore what's happening in your neighborhood, filter projects by location or topic, and find the ones that matter most to you. But Engage A2 is not just about staying informed. It's about getting involved. With Engage A2, you can join Q&A forums with project managers, share your ideas in surveys, and even use interactive map activities to highlight what's important in your city, in your community, and your area. We have so many city projects that we are excited about, such as sidewalks, road resurfacings, transportation, parks, and even stormwater. These projects and many more are all ones in which your input can make a real difference. Engage A2 is managed by me, your City Community Engagement Specialist, and I'm always available to help you get the most out of the platform. So what are you waiting for? Log on today and discover what's happening all around your city. Together, we can build a stronger and more connected community in the city of Ann Arbor.
The love for the Ann Arbor District Library is hard to miss. You see the swag all over town, hear the buzz about its events and programs, and witness the strong community support every time voters show up to keep this local treasure thriving for generations to come. Back in August, a special election was held to decide the future of the Library Lane parcel, and the results are in. That space will soon become a vibrant new addition to the city, including a brand new downtown library. Joining me with the latest on this exciting project is Eli Neiburger, Director of the Ann Arbor District Library. Welcome back to the show, Eli.
Thank you, Dana. It's always great to be here.
You know, I'd like a little, we've been talking about this, I call it the library lot, but I guess it's the Library Lane parcel. We've been talking about this for so many years. I can't even remember how this first came about, that this was going to be a project that, so how long has this been actually happening? Because it seems like forever.
I think forever is a fairly fair description of it. I mean, as long ago as 20 years ago or more, there was discussion of what should happen with that parcel. I've seen plans from the 80s about it. So it's certainly been something that's been discussed since it was a flat lot for many, many years, right next to the downtown library. So when the parking garage was built to have structure to support a medium building up in the front and a dense building in the back. So that infrastructure is already under the ground. Then in 2018, there was the citizens ballot question to amend the city charter. And now that charter amendment has now been rescinded by the voters. And so now we're in the position where the next step is that the city and the library will be finalizing that transfer agreement. And that will come before city council and it will come before the library board. And then we'll be off and running with the work of developing a new building.
That's crazy to think that this is actually going to happen. And you know what's really exciting about it? Before you were the director, it was Josie Parker. And I remember having her on years ago and her being like, we would love a new downtown library, but it's just not feasible to like rebuild that library. And now it's actually going to happen. And I think that part is the most exciting for us people that love the library, because the downtown library is such a treasure and there's so much programming there. Yes. And to like envision this new beautiful space that the library deserves.
Yes, we're certainly hugely excited about it. And really, the what made it become feasible without new tax revenue was the ability to include housing as part of the project and use the proceeds from that housing to defray the cost of the construction. So, as in the middle of a housing crisis, and there's not a better place for housing than right across the street from one of the busiest transit centers in the state. So it's a really great opportunity for the whole community, all different sectors, and for the library to really make something special, a real center of the city, if you will.
Yeah, I would like to know how this came about. So you started having meetings with the city administrator, Milton Tahoney. And where did you come up with this plan that would be lucrative for both the city and the library?
Well, the city approached us and, asked us if we wanted to talk about the parking structure. And of course, as it being something right next door, we already had a plan to develop a new library with housing above just on the current site, right? And what we found was that it almost worked and would require, millions of dollars of money out of our operating budget to make it happen. And so, when Milton asked the question if we would be interested in talking about adding that space to our project, of course we were interested, right? So City Council then discussed it, and they decided to put it on the ballot and then move forward from there. So now this is really the beginning of the road and not the end of it. Now we know that how the voters feel about it, and we are ready to take the next steps. It's a long process, be every bit of 6 or 7 years before we're cutting the ribbon on a new building. Just to kind of step through that. After the agreement is settled, then the library will be issuing an RFP, a request for proposals for development partners. Then the library board will publicly select which development partners to work with. Then the library and the development partners will select design team. Then the design team will participate with the library to do public engagement about the design. Then the design will be developed into construction documents. Then the financing, blah, 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 blah. So we're at least 3 years away from the current downtown library closing for construction. And we will not be operating on this site during construction. It's too expensive and inconvenient to do that. So we will have a temporary downtown library during the project at a location yet to be determined, because we don't know what real estate's going to be available in 3 years from now when we'd be looking for it.
That's going to be a big job for the people that work at the library, because you guys are basically, CTN is doing something similar, but we don't have nearly as much stuff as the library does, right?
Yeah.
So we're not building a new space, but we're moving next year. So that requires that you have to move everything out of that building, which is a lot of work for a library, I'm sure.
That's right. And it's the sort of thing, of course, you have professional movers involved when you're moving a library, and there are movers that specialize in library moves that we've used before, but we have our warehouse out in Scioto Township on 265 Parkland Plaza. So we have a place for a lot of the stuff to go. And that will be, a critical resource for us during the time that the downtown library is offline.
Do you envision that this temporary library space, when this day will come 3 years from now or whatever that date may be, so will that be a place where you would go to get library books, or would it be more for programming, and then the book checkout would be at the other libraries in the branches?
The services that are available there will depend on how much space we're able to find in the downtown area. But generally, it would be a place where you can definitely pick up your holds, right? Or you can request from any location and pick them up downtown. There would certainly be a small browsing collection, depending on how much space is available. And then there would probably be some public computers, some bathroom, and ideally a small programming space around the size of the story corner at the downtown library, just waving a magic wand. If we're able to get a larger space, then we would have a larger venue in it, but there's not a lot of options. So it will really depend on what's available on the market when we're starting to look at that. And, we'll cram as much library service into that space as we can. But we do expect that we'll be using a lot of other downtown venues for what would currently have been downtown library programs during the time that there's no downtown library.
So this vote that happened in August was that you would be able to give the city $1. Is that how it works? That you have to
Well,
pay?
it's
there has to
basically
be some sort of exchange.
Yeah, it is a transfer of property from one public entity to another, organized as a sale. So because it is organized as a sale, there's a token dollar. This is a very common maneuver when public entities are transferring property back and forth to organize it as a dollar sale. And it's not uncommon for people to do that sell their own property to the city for $1 when they want it to become public property. So it's a very common mechanism for doing what is in essence a donation that is organized as a sale for the simplicity of the transaction.
Were you surprised after all these years where that lot was just like, no one knows what we're going to do with it, that the city was like ready to, have you guys develop it?
I don't think I was surprised. We're really the most natural partner to develop that
I
space.
agree, but it just seemed like it took so long for this to come to fruition.
Yeah, well, there's we have our dedicated funding stream. We have a proven track record of operating public space. We're already committed to this block. It was really a very natural fit to move this forward. And, this project is the #1 thing on the library's agenda for years to come, right? Whereas at the city, it's just one of 1,000 different things that they have to take care of. So it was really a win-win-win for the city, for the library, for the community to be able to make this move at this point. We're so glad that the voters saw it that way.
So what do you have plans for what you want to see this new downtown library to be?
Yeah, in a rough sense, we haven't spent the money to develop architectural plans yet. We do have an architectural program that was developed in 2018 for a downtown library, but that needs to be revised, and we're starting that process now. But that's like a text description of the things the library needs to have,
Yeah.
right? But some of the things we've talked about is we'd like to have a large second floor that crosses over Library Lane. If you've been to any of our expos, you know that we need a lot more floor space for our expos, more floor space than even the entire current site of the downtown library could offer, right? So that's really a big part of the benefit of adding that second site, is that we'll be able to have a much larger floor, right? We know we need to have an auditorium. Ideally, that seats around 450 or 500 people. So that's a fairly large space. We know we want to have an incredible new kids area. We know we want to have like a local history reading room. We know we want to have studios and other meeting rooms. We don't have enough meeting rooms. The meeting rooms we have aren't big enough. So it's really about adding gathering space. What we don't need is a lot more room for the collection, because that's really something that this building provides very well. We have plenty of room for the collection. And as you can imagine, the volume, the size of the DVD and Blu-ray collection is probably about as big as it will ever be.
Yeah,
right?
I would think so.
That collection is not a growing one, and it has a large footprint. So while the new library will have thousands of new items in it, of course, adding space for the collection is not really part of the pinch. We need to add space for people. We need to add space for programs. We need to add space for opportunities that haven't come along yet. A great example of that, we currently have our new lobby shops in the downtown library. 2 of them are now open, and that's like a retail incubator offering small businesses an opportunity to sell in the downtown Ann Arbor at prices that you can't get in Whitmore Lake, let alone downtown Ann Arbor, right? So that's been a very successful program so far. We're looking forward for the opportunity to expand that in a new downtown library. And we started that now so we would have some experience with it before we got to the design phase of a downtown library.
Nice. And so then the library would be, what you're saying, a few stories high then?
Most likely 2 to 4 stories, depending on how it all comes together, what the other partners are that are involved. And then above that would be housing towers on the parking lot, on the library lane side, and on the current library side.
This is just so amazing to wrap my head around that this is actually happening. I can't believe it. And even like thinking about, okay, well, we all love the downtown library, but it might be closed for some time. To get this new library is so worth every year that library is closed.
We know how hard it is, especially on families whose little kids are in prime library age during those 3 years of construction, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we'll endeavor to make sure that there's plenty of programming options around the system, as well as, we understand that for many thousands of people, the downtown library is their neighborhood library, right? And that's why we're committed to having a downtown library where programming can continue to happen during that time. But yeah, you can't have a great new library without construction involved.
Oh, no doubt. I'm excited to see what happens, what that space the space surrounding the library will be, but it sounds really amazing. And I do agree. I mean, I've been to these events at the library. People love going to the library for events.
Yeah.
And it's jam-packed. You go to another library, you go to the Pittsfield one and there's an event and you're like, there's nowhere even to park. People love
Yes.
going to things that the library holds. It's so amazing that when you look at all the stuff that the library provides. So like to have this happen, it just feels good. And I know when it was time for me to vote as a resident, I didn't even have to think about the way I was going to vote for that special election.
Well, thank you for your support, Dana. We always love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, and I have a little one right now, and my neighborhood library is Mallett's Creek. But I mean, even just going there, it's not the biggest library, but we love it. We love going to Mallett's Creek. The kids love it. We get to go pick out books. We get to go to the toddler groups, the children's groups and stuff. It's just so much fun. The library is just a gem.
No, I love to hear it. Can't get enough of that.
Well, and to me, it's like, like I said, I knew Josie, and I always thought she was an amazing library director. And now you've stepped into these shoes so seamlessly. It's almost as if she never left.
Well, Josie and I worked together for a long time, and I was her deputy director for almost 10 years before I became director.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was getting into. We had worked to get to this point together, and she paved the way for what's happening now.
I think she would be so proud of everything. I think she would be very proud.
She is. I've heard from her, and she certainly is.
I would assume, yes. Because it is interesting to think too, like there's these people that worked for the library for so many years and it meant so much to them. And then at some point you have to retire. And then it doesn't stop meaning something to you anymore.
Right.
It's still important to you.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked here for 28 years. I expect to work here for many more. And, it will be quite a moment when I hand over the reins to someone else and see what they want.
And you can't do it until this new library is finished.
Oh, that's for sure. And then some. Yeah.
Well, is there anything that we can do as the public as this process continues? Are there going to be things that the public can put their input in or anything like that? And to keep
there absolutely will
find
be.
out.
Yeah, there absolutely will be when we get to that point. But that is at least a year away, if not more, before we even start working on the design. We will have extensive public engagement all around the system, meetings where people can engage with opportunities to engage online. We do have a new website, which is aadl.org/new downtown, where we will be putting information about the project as it proceeds. Right now, all it's really got there is what are the next 17 steps between here and ribbon cutting, right? But over time, that's where information will show up, where, recordings of public engagement and opportunities for public engagement. I would expect that work will begin in 2027. That 2027 will really be the year that the design takes shape. Because 2026 is the year that the partnership and the financing takes shape. 2027 is when the design takes shape. And then hopefully we break ground in 2028.
And that library is gone. You are tearing down the library. It's not
unfortunately
on.
Yes, there's no opportunity to build above this building. And unfortunately, it has lived its useful life. And we will, look for all kinds of creative ways to reuse materials that are part of this building, right? However, there's really no opportunity to expand this building any further. And many of its challenges are literally cast into the stone of the building. So there isn't a mechanism beyond demolition to move forward on this site. And the oldest parts of this building are over 70 years old. And it's something that they've served the library very well. And we are looking forward to the next step for the site.
Do you foresee this new build to be green at all, the Ann Arbor way?
Oh, of course. Just like all of our other branches, it's like something that the library takes very seriously, making sure that we can minimize the carbon emissions that the building involves. We can make sure that we can, not just operationally, but from a construction standpoint. However, throughout all of that, the biggest impact on a person's carbon emission is how dense of a city they live in. It's like there is nothing that Americans can do to change their carbon footprint as much as living downtown, right? So it's like the biggest impact of the building, regardless of the systems and the construction methods and all of that stuff, the biggest impact will be the number of new residents of downtown it's able to bring and how much less carbon all of those people will be emitting just by getting to and from work and home and the library and all that stuff.
And you are thinking these living spaces are going to be in the more affordable end, or that's your hope?
That's definitely a component of the project. It's not the entirety of the project.
Yeah.
But we hope to have affordable housing, senior housing, market rate housing, and then artist housing and similar sort of designated housing like that.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, and before we go, this is not anything to do with the Ann Arbor District Library remodel or anything like that, but I would be remiss to not ask you about getting the Observer. How did that come about, and what are the plans for the Observer now, if once the library has acquired it?
Sure. So at this point, we're just starting the construction of a formal acquisition agreement with the Observer. And basically, John and Patricia were at our exhibit that we mounted about 50 years of the Observer during the Ann Arbor 200 Bicentennial Project. And they dropped a hint that they were thinking about retiring and that they were looking for a home for the Observer. And our archives manager, Andrew McLaren, told me about it. And I started saying, I wonder who would be the best home for the Ann Arbor Observer to ensure that it endures whatever future changes are coming in the news business, right? And we started talking about it. And so now we are just now at the point where the process actually begins. And, the idea is that basically that John and Patricia retire. They've already executed their succession plan at the Observer. So their new editor-in-chief, this next issue will be her first issue. Their new publisher is now taking the reins of the business side of the organization. And really all that's changing is that the ownership is changing. The Observer will not be part of the library. It will be owned by the library, right? To ensure that it is able to succeed and weather future changes. So really, we're not anticipating any changes to the Observer. I don't expect to see the Observer until it arrives in my mailbox, So it's really about making sure that this priceless community asset is as sustainable indefinitely into the future as it can be. And there's no organization that's capable of doing that better than the library.
No, when I read about it, I was like, oh, wow, this is the perfect companion for the Observer. Because when I think about the library, a lot of times I think about how you guys do hold our history and that you can find stuff about the past and articles and all that stuff. So I do think that's like a nice place for the Observer to sort of land. And it has to be a little bit, like it has to feel good for the Observer to know that the library wants it, because it's hard to retire not knowing the certainty of the thing that you worked so hard on and loved so much.
For sure. And private ownership of news media isn't working out so well for America. And so there's this opportunity to model what public governance of news media looks like. While the library is a government, the library is not the government, right? So, is there another newspaper in the US that is accountable to an elected board that can be voted out? I don't think so. So there's a really interesting opportunity to model a new future for publicly owned news. But at the same time, it's also not that different from what's existed in radio and television for decades, right? Michigan radio belongs to the regents of the university, right? Similarly with WEMU, similarly with many public television stations across the US. So this might be new to print, it's not new to media.
Well, thank you so much, Eli. There's so much exciting stuff happening. I want to congratulate you for being so proactive and just an amazing director to have at the helm of the Ann Arbor District Library, which means the world to this community. I can't talk to a person that doesn't love the library. And like I said at the beginning, even when you walk around, I swear, when I'm walking around the streets, I see at least 3 people with a library shirt on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We let's see, and there's 13,000 new ones just this summer. We shipped 13,000 t-shirts to summer game players. Yeah. So yeah, this town loves its library, and that really makes it easy for me to do my job. And I'm so appreciative to everyone in town for using and loving and supporting AADL.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.